Welcome to Table Bible Studies with Ben and Ben. New studies are posted every Thursday. We're studying the book of Daniel, and today we find Daniel is the target of a vicious plot. Let's turn to Daniel chapter 6.
Of all the Old Testament stories, I think we're going to talk today about the number 2 of the most exciting and loved stories. I would say number 1 would be David and Goliath, David killing Goliath. And number 2 might be this one, which has to do with a man named Daniel and a den of lions.
Yeah.
Daniel and the lion's den. Back in my day, every child would know about Daniel and the lion's den. Most of the kids went to church and they had Sunday school and they were taught this lesson. Today, sadly, many don't go to church, and probably, I don't know, a good percentage of America's children, if you say, well, what do you think about Daniel and the lion's den? And they'd be like, what is that, a story about a zoo or what? But let's get into it. Daniel chapter 6, this is the final of the adventure stories. I've told you before that Daniel is kind of neatly divided, half and half. 12 chapters. The first 6 are the adventure stories. The second 6, chapters 7 through 12, are the prophecies and dreams and visions that Daniel had. And that gets really wild.
It's exciting,
So let's look at chapter 6, verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be over the whole kingdom. Now, who is Darius? What's he doing setting up all these governors, you might say, over his kingdom? Well, what we read in the last chapter was that Belshazzar's reign came to an end.
Right.
And not only his reign, but the empire of Babylon came to an end. It was conquered by the Medes and the Persians, and a fellow named Darius becomes the new emperor or king over the whole empire. So he is setting up his government. Well, in America, we have elections, and the new president comes in, and he fires all the old cabinet members and puts in his own men. So it's sort of like this, except there was no election. There was just a war, just a battle. And Babylon was conquered. So here is Darius now on the throne. He picks out 120 men to be his governors over the whole land.
Wow, that's a lot.
And then over 3, there would be 3 particular men who would be governors over the governors, or over the satraps, as they were called. So 3 guys would be in charge of the 120 leaders that were scattered throughout his empire.
Right.
3 top men that would report to him, and one of them was a guy by the name of Daniel. So you remember we said before, Daniel was in retirement when Belshazzar was having his party and was the administrator and the leader of Babylon. Daniel's an old man by now, probably close to 90. And lo and behold, the king is so impressed with Daniel. He's like, you got to work for me. So here comes Daniel.
The news got to him.
Oh, yeah, somehow. Somebody probably told the story about the handwriting on the wall and how he interpreted it and rebuked the king. And, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So it's like, okay, you didn't much like Belshazzar, neither did I. So, and you had enough wisdom to know that we were going to conquer in this battle.
I like his mindset, because he didn't go like, okay, this man, he's a Jew, and then, try to discriminate, and then try to be like, I don't think I need him. With his wisdom, I don't think I need him in my circle. But he got, more wisdom to know that if this guy is this brainy, maybe not brainy, if he is...
Wisdom, I think, is the word.
Yeah, if he has this kind of wisdom to interpret and, tell me what I don't even understand and it comes to pass, I need him in my circle.
It's amazing, and I think the word that you're kind of describing here is favor.
Yes.
Daniel had not only favor with God, he had favor with people, high up people, important people, leaders of nations. He has to be one of the most remarkable men in history. Just one of the greatest men in history. The kind of favor he had, and the fact that, it's not like he just bowed down to these leaders and, yes, sir, whatever you want, sir, whatever you need, sir, I'll do whatever you want, sir. He was a strong man in his own right, but he was wise enough to work with these ungodly kings and to impress them and to rise high. And of course, we know this wasn't just Daniel, it was God. But God had put a special blessing on his life. Daniel impressed people. Some people are just impressive. You meet them, you like their personality, you like their intelligence, you like the responses they give when they're challenged. And you're just like, wow, that is really a great guy. That is an impressive person. And if you are in the business of hiring people, as in a business, that's who you want, right? Impressive people to work for you. And of course, this king was in the kingdom business. And he's like, who could I find better than this guy?
I know. It's really good that these kings, you would think the king, they don't know too much. They depend on people, their cabinets. No, they got, something in their head. They know how to, get something organized and get it going. And at the same time, their cabinet helps, a lot. And this man, I kind of give him credit for recognizing who Daniel is.
Yeah. You sure have to. So the Bible says he had appointed 3 governors over the satraps, or the lesser governors. Daniel was one of them, that they might give, the satraps, the lower men, would give account to them, so the king would suffer no loss. So they would make sure everything was going the way the king wanted. And it says in verse 3, Daniel thus distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because an excellent spirit was in him.
Okay.
And the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. So it's like he's already at a high position, but the king's thinking, I ought to just make him my number 2 guy above even these other 2 guys he's working with.
Wow.
So the king is super impressed with Daniel.
He recognized the highest spirit in him.
Yeah, the Bible says he had an excellent spirit. And a spirit is kind of hard to define. It's really the inner you. It's more than looks more than your personality, more than your work ethic. It is the very nature of who you are. Right. And he's like, this guy is quality from top to bottom. This is a quality person. I'm going to make him my VP. I'm going to make him my number 2 man. So there is a word that comes in the realm of politics that sometimes can cause a lot of harm, and that word is jealousy.
Okay.
Some people got jealous when they heard the king is planning to make him his VP and take him even higher. Who is this Jew? He's not even one of us. He's not even one of us Medes or Persians. And hear this, probably a little bit of racism, a little bit of anti-Semitism going on there. And it's like, this Jew is going to be the number 2 man in the whole kingdom? Are you kidding me?
Us? Is he not seeing us?
Well,
why not me?
Yeah, why not me? Exactly. So it says, verse 4, these governors and satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom. Let's get him in trouble. Let's find something about his life, his work that is not right, and we'll report it, and we'll get him brought down.
Wow.
So they check into his life. The Bible says they could find no charge, no fault. He was faithful. Love that statement. He was faithful.
Yes.
The Bible says it is required in stewards that one be found faithful. And that is so true for those that are involved in serving Jesus Christ. We too, like Daniel, must be faithful. Now, most of us are not going to rise to be a VP over a big empire, but in our own small way, working at our job, in our marriage, as a father, as a mother, as a parent, we need to be faithful, don't we?
Yes, we need to be faithful because, we know that the eyes of God is not, shut or blind. It's way, his eyes is way bright and brighter than anything you can even think of.
Yeah.
And it's all over the world looking through. And it's like, I am looking through to see who I will make myself strong. So, who is he going to make himself strong? A crooked person? The Bible says if you are crooked with God, God will be crooked with you. And if you are straight with God, you are faithful and you are upright and you do things, with a fear of God, with wisdom, and he will be, faithful with you and want to walk with you. He will even work so hard to connect you. To the people that he will use to lift you up or upgrade you.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you think about faithful, there's two aspects to it that I think of. Number one would be you avoid the big scandals.
Yeah.
There's no shame. There's no sexual immorality. There's no stealing going on. You're not working behind the back of your employee or the king or whoever. There's no big scandal. But then secondly, not only is there no big scandal, but even in the small things, you're a man or a woman of integrity and decency and honesty, and you just go about your job faithfully.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of man Daniel was. They took a microscope to his life. It's like, what can we find that this guy's doing wrong? Any sexual scandal? Well, that couldn't very well be, as he was probably a eunuch. But there's no stealing going on. He's not talking against the king behind his back. He's not plotting or planning with some people that want to overthrow the king. He's just doing his job. So no big scandals. But then they look even more closely with their microscope. There's not even any small stuff.
Maybe going through his record while he was with the other kings.
Yeah. And so these guys are scratching their heads and saying, man, there's just nothing wrong with this guy. There's nothing we can find. The Bible says he was faithful. There was no error or fault in him. And they said to each other, we will not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God. It's like, well, he's honest. We're not going to find him working against the king. We're not going to find any kind of negative stuff, except the guy is so religious. Maybe we can bring a religious charge against him, something that the king will be upset with. That's the only place we'll find anything that may go against our beliefs and so forth. He's a fanatic. He's religious. He loves his God, and he will not bow to anybody else except his God.
Yeah.
So these leaders, governors and satraps, it says, thronged before the king. This is verse 6. And they said to him, King Darius, live forever, which is the way you greeted kings.
Yes.
All the governors of the kingdom, the administrators, the satraps, the counselors, the advisors have consulted together to establish a royal decree, a royal statute, and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. So they're basically saying, King, we love you so much. You're such a great king. We need to make a rule that for the next month, nobody will pray to God, ask God for anything. The only person they can petition is you because, King, you're like a god to us. And, they appeal to flattery. They appeal to his pride, his ego.
Yeah.
It's like, you're so great. Nobody should pray to any god. Nobody should ask any deity. You'd be the only one anybody will ever ask anything for the next month, O king.
And I think, you when you were describing how they were really using their kind of magnifying glasses to find out where any fault is.
Yeah.
You know what I think they found?
What did they find?
When Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, they're all Jews. They bow down to nobody. Refused to bow down when Nebuchadnezzar was the king.
Right.
And they're like, okay, we can find something here. They bow down to nobody. And this guy, if they refuse to bow down to him, there they go. Now the fire will not burn them. Don't put them inside the fire.
Don't even think about that. But lions, that may be another story.
That would be.
So, and of course, that was a long time ago with Shadrach, Meshach. That was like 60 years ago. But still, you're right. They knew about the only thing they could get him for was the fact that he would not submit to any kind of praying to man or deifying man.
Yeah.
So they say, for the next 30 days, the only one that will be petitioned will be you. Now, they also knew this. Daniel was a man of prayer. They knew he prayed. Yeah. He prayed regularly. He prayed with the windows open. He didn't care who heard him. And in those days, it wasn't like today where you go in your house and your windows are closed, your doors closed, your air conditioner is on, and you could pray all day long. Nobody would know it. But in those days, windows are open. Everybody's going to know it if you pray very loud. And Daniel apparently did. So they knew he was a praying man. So now, O king, this is verse 8. Establish the decree, sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians. They had a rule that even with kings, once you sign something into law, you can't back out of it. There's no way you can alter it. You can't change it. So it says, which does not alter. Therefore, King Darius signed the written decree. Here, we've made it up for you. 30 days. Nobody will petition, bow down before, ask anything of anybody except you.
Wow.
And it worked. The king kind of thought, well, that sounds kind of good. Nobody will pray to God, but they'll ask me for stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm sort of like a God.
See?
Now, here's where it really gets good. Verse 10, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, what did he do? It says he went home, okay? He found out about the law. Hey, did you hear there's a law? You can't pray for the next 30 days. The only person you can petition is the king. So it says he went home.
Help us, Lord.
And in his upper room, so he had an upstairs apartment.
Yeah.
Upper room with his windows open toward Jerusalem, which is where the Jews were always taught to pray toward when they were captive.
Hey.
So he's facing Jerusalem. It says he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days.
Thanks for watching our study of the greatest book ever written, the Bible. In addition to these Bible studies with Ben and me, I also share what I call video devos, which are short teachings I give on various Bible topics. These teachings are normally, but not always, posted on Mondays. Be sure and click the subscribe button and then click that bell icon and choose Show All Notifications. That way you'll be notified every time we post a new video. And if you're struggling with diabetes, check out my other channel, which is called Beat Diabetes. God bless you, and see you again soon.